The year is 2847. Humanity has spread across the stars, but there are places even the bravest refuse to go. The Void Sector, a region of space marked by every galactic civilization as strictly forbidden. No one enters. No one returns. But pirates don't follow rules. And the crew of the Shadow Reaver was about to discover why some doors should never be opened. This is the story of humanity's greatest mistake, and our darkest awakening. Act 1, The Heist, 0:30 to 3 o'clock. Tense, adventurous music. Captain Jax Moreno wasn't like other pirates. He was smarter, bolder, and greedier. When his informant whispered about an ancient alien artifact worth billions hidden in the Void Sector, Jax didn't hesitate. His crew of 12, thieves, ex-soldiers, and outcasts, knew the risks. The Void Sector had been quarantined for over 3,000 years by the Galactic Council. Every species agreed, whatever was inside must never be disturbed. But Jax had discovered coordinates. A derelict space station called the Obsidian Cradle, floating in the heart of forbidden space. Long-range scans showed energy signatures, proof that something valuable was still active inside. Fortune favors the bold, Jax told his crew as they jumped into the void. The moment they crossed the boundary, their instruments went haywire. Space itself felt wrong. Twisted. The stars looked dim, as if the light was being drained away. But they pressed on. The Obsidian Cradle loomed ahead, a massive structure of black metal, shaped like a spiral reaching into infinity. It was beautiful. Terrifying. Ancient beyond comprehension. Sound of airlock opening. Jax and his team boarded the station. Inside, everything was perfectly preserved. Walls covered in alien script that seemed to shift when you looked away. Technology that hummed with power despite millennia of abandonment. And at the center, a chamber. Inside it, suspended in a field of pure energy, was the artifact. It looked like a crystalline sphere, pulsing with deep crimson light. Waves of heat radiated from it, but not normal heat. This felt alive, aware, hungry. Jax's second-in-command, Maya, grabbed his arm. "Captain, something's wrong. The translations I'm getting from this script, they're warnings. They say, the sleeper must not wake." Jax laughed. Ancient civilizations always hide their treasures behind scary stories. He reached for the artifact. The moment his fingers touched it, the sphere flashed. Brilliant red light filled the chamber. And then, silence. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the screaming began. Act 2, The Awakening, 3 to 6 o'clock. Horror ambience, escalating tension. The artifact didn't just activate, it bonded with Jax. The crystal dissolved into his skin, spreading like liquid fire through his veins. He collapsed, convulsing, as images flooded his mind. He saw civilizations rising and falling. He saw the universe before humanity existed. And he saw them, the architects. Beings of pure consciousness that existed before matter itself. They had built reality, shaped galaxies, and then, they had been betrayed. One of their kind, the entity humans would come to call the Devourer, had gone mad with power. It wanted to unmake creation, to return everything to the void. The other architects imprisoned it here, in this station, sealed within the artifact. And Jax had just set it free. Sound of metal groaning, systems failing. The station began to change. Walls twisted into impossible geometries. Gravity fluctuated wildly. And worse, Jax's crew started to change too. Engineer Torres was the first. His eyes turned black, and when he spoke, his voice echoed with thousands of others. "The awakening has begun. You cannot comprehend what you have unleashed." He attacked the others, moving with inhuman speed. Maya barely managed to seal him behind a bulkhead door as his screams turned to laughter, ancient, cold, and utterly alien. But Torres wasn't alone. One by one, the crew began to fall. The Devourer was spreading through them, using their bodies as puppets, learning about humanity through their memories. Jax, somehow, remained himself. The artifact had chosen him as its vessel, but he could still think, still resist. He realized with horror that he could feel the entity inside him, patient, calculating, waiting. "Run," he screamed at Maya and the 3 surviving crew members. "Get back to the ship. I'll hold it off." But as they fled through the twisting corridors of the Obsidian Cradle, they discovered something worse. The station wasn't just a prison. It was a gateway. The Devourer had used the artifact as a beacon. And its call had been heard across dimensions. Things were coming. Ancient things. Hungry things. Outside the station, space itself began to tear. Act 3, The Price, 6 to 9 o'clock. Epic, desperate music. Maya and the survivors reached the Shadow Reaver, but they couldn't leave. The spatial distortions had created a field around the station. They were trapped with whatever was coming through. On the bridge, Maya tried desperately to send a distress signal, but knew it was hopeless. They were in forbidden space. No one would come. No one would risk unleashing this horror on the galaxy. Then Jax's voice crackled over their comms. But it wasn't just Jax anymore. It was layered with something else, something vast and terrible. "I understand now," he said. "The architects didn't just imprison the Devourer. They imprisoned its knowledge. The secret of how to unmake reality itself. Every civilization that found this place tried to use that power. And every one of them died." Maya's hands trembled on the controls. "Jax, you have to fight it." "I am fighting it," he replied. "And I'm losing. But I learned something. The architects left a failsafe. A way to reseal the prison. But it requires a sacrifice. A conscious mind merged with the artifact, willingly accepting imprisonment for eternity." The implications hit Maya like a physical blow. Jax wasn't just going to die. He was going to be trapped, conscious and aware, for all time. An eternal guardian, suffering forever to keep the universe safe. "There has to be another way," she shouted. "There isn't. And Maya, you need to destroy the station after I activate the seal. Use the ship's reactor core. Overload it. Take everything with you. The gateway must be closed permanently." Through the view screen, Maya could see shapes emerging from the tears in space. Massive, impossible forms that hurt to look at. The Devourer's kin, drawn by its awakening. Time had run out. Sound of energy building. Back in the chamber, Jax placed his hands on the altar where the artifact had rested. He could feel the Devourer fighting for control, trying to stop him. But Jax had one advantage: he was human. And humans had always been stubborn survivors. He thought of Maya. His crew. The billions of lives across the galaxy who would never know what almost happened here. And he chose to let go. The artifact's power flowed backward, pulling the Devourer back into its prison. But this time, Jax went with it. His consciousness merged with the seal, becoming part of the barrier between reality and the void. His last words echoed across the comms: tell them the pirates saved the galaxy. At least once. Act 4, The Aftermath, 9 to 11:30. Somber, reflective music. Maya did what Jax asked. She overloaded the Shadow Reaver's reactor and took an escape pod with the 2 surviving crew members. Behind them, the explosion consumed the Obsidian Cradle in a ball of nuclear fire. The tears in space sealed. The entities retreated. And silence returned to the void sector. When Maya finally made it back to civilization, she told her story. Most didn't believe her. Pirates' tales, they said. Fantasies to explain a failed heist. But the Galactic Council listened. They sent probes to investigate the void sector. All they found was debris and radiation. The station was gone. But the readings confirmed massive energy signatures consistent with dimensional breaches. They couldn't prove Maya's story. But they couldn't disprove it either. The void sector's quarantine was reinforced. New warnings were issued in every known language. Beyond this point lies only death. Enter, and doom all who live. Maya retired from piracy. She spent her remaining years writing down everything that happened, creating a record so that if anyone ever found another architect artifact, they would know the truth. She died peacefully at age 97, her last words a whisper, "Thank you, Captain." But here's the disturbing part. The part that keeps xenoarchaeologists awake at night. The Obsidian Cradle wasn't the only architect prison. Ancient records suggest there were hundreds scattered across the universe. Seals weakening over time. Guards long dead. And somewhere out there, Jax Moreno remains conscious, aware, trapped in his eternal vigil. He can feel every attempt by the Devourer to break free. Every probe against the barrier. Every test of its strength. He will fight for eternity. A single human soul, holding back the end of all things. The ultimate prisoner. The final guardian. The pirate who became a god's jailer. Closing, 11:30 to 12 o'clock. Fade to darkness, mysterious music. So the next time you see those no-entry zones on star charts, those forbidden sectors every civilization agrees to avoid, remember. There's a reason for those warnings. There are ancient powers out there, sleeping in the dark between stars. Powers that should never be awakened. And sometimes, the bravest thing humanity can do, is walk away from the treasure. But we're human. And greed, curiosity, and boldness are in our nature. So the question isn't if someone will enter forbidden space again. It's when. And what they'll unleash next time. Final dramatic sting.